Hello everyone, it's Ollie, and today I'm going to be doing a quiz, and I'm going to walk through it with you. I will admit I have taken this quiz already. I talked about it on Twitter a little bit. It's called the Transgender Attitude Test, and it basically measures how you generally feel about transgender issues. You're either trans-sympathetic or you are trans-skeptic, and it shows a percentage of which one you are. I'm gonna go through it with you and see if I get the same results as last time. I did have a few problems with the questions that were asked in the quiz, so I'm just gonna elaborate on that. Obviously, I leaned one way over the other on this quiz, but I did actually see some trans people take the quiz and they were actually more skeptical than sympathetic, and I thought that was very interesting. So yeah, let's just jump right into this quiz. Okay, so question 1. People who are not transgender should refer to themselves as cisgender as a way to raise awareness. I'm gonna go ahead and disagree with this. I don't really see how identifying as cisgender raises awareness to the transgender issue. I think it's just better to say that you're not trans. Question number 2. Transgenderism is a mental disorder. I think the first time I answered this I said agree, but now I'm going to disagree because transgenderism technically is not, but gender dysphoria is. This says transgenderism, and being transgender itself is not technically a mental disorder. So I'm going to disagree with that. Question number 3. Whether someone is a man or a woman is determined by the sex they were born with. Strongly disagree. Being a man or a woman has to do with gender, being a male or a female has to do with sex, which is why I try to avoid saying that I identify as male, because that would mean that I would be claiming to be a member of the opposite sex, which is not really accurate. I know that I'm not biologically male, but I do identify as a man, because socially and mentally I am a man. Question number 4. The state has a responsibility to further research into sex transitioning so that transgender people can receive functional sex organs of the gender they identify as. That I'm going to agree with. If a transgender person receives a surgery that doesn't produce a functional sex organ that they want, then that could make them even more dysphoric and possibly suicidal, because it could raise a feeling of hopelessness. All this money and went through this recovery time to get a body part that doesn't feel or look real, and now I'm still dysphoric. With the suicide rates being so high in the transgender community, there should be a lot of research going in to help these people live their lives and to look the way that they feel that they are. The way that they are. If transgender people don't want to transition through surgery, etc., that shows that they're just bluffing to get attention. I am going to disagree with this. It says through surgery, etc., so I'm assuming that means hormones. I personally don't understand why a trans person wouldn't want to go on hormones, but I would never just jump to the conclusion that that person is just bluffing to get attention. I think the whole argument that people are claiming to be transgender to get attention is ridiculous and harmful. It's a very easy conclusion to jump to, and I understand why so many people, particularly on the right, tend to think that, but I just don't think it's true. I just think that fundamentally everyone wants to understand who they are and they want to be understood. There are a lot of other things you can do to get attention that don't involve being transgender. Question number 6. Someone can be a man or a woman even if that is different from the sex they were born with. Again, I'm going to agree with this, simply because gender is not sex and sex is not gender. Question number 7. The group of people who identify as transgender to get attention is larger than the group of people who are really transgender. Strongly disagree. I think that there is a group of people who may think that they are transgender or non-binary or something who actually may turn out to be cisgender. But again, the whole thing about getting attention I just think is BS. Question number 8. Hate speech against transgender people should be illegal, even if no specific individuals are named or threatened. I have to disagree with this. Hate speech sucks, and it's really horrible to listen to people spout hate speech about any group of people. As most of you should know, I am a huge proponent of free speech no matter what, because if we keep these sort of people quiet and silent, then they are just going to get more and more vicious. We need to get them a platform to spout their ridiculous views so that one, we can be aware that these people still exist and not be naive, and two, so that we can prove them wrong. And I cannot stress this enough. If you keep people quiet, they will keep getting louder. People hate being silenced. There's no way that people like white nationalists or hate preachers who think that gay people should be killed, why do you think they haven't given up yet? They're not gonna give up. It's an ugly truth that we need to face, and we need to let them speak. Not because we're giving validity to their arguments, but so that we can argue against them. Every single human being, no matter how ridiculous or dangerous their opinions may be, need to have the ability to express them. Anyway, question number 9. Businesses that provide wedding services should be able to refuse service to couples where one or both of them identify as transgender. I'm gonna have to agree with this one. I am too much of a libertarian to say that any private business is obligated to do anything, especially things like weddings. I mean, it kind of relates to the gay wedding thing. I mean, you can just find a different place to get married that will take you. There are plenty of places who will take you. Question number 10. A person should be at least 18 years of age before starting hormone therapy with the aim of switching their gender. I'm gonna have to agree with this. I was 18 when I started taking hormones. It was very easy for me to get the hormones. I got it within the very first visit. The whole visit was maybe an hour and a half, and I left with my testosterone prescription. Obviously, on that day, I was ecstatic, and obviously now I have no regrets, but really, I probably should have been assessed more, and it's probably not really a good thing that I was able to get my hormones so easily. I mean, anyone can go in there. Maybe they've been feeling dysphoric for like 3 months, and it's not that severe, but they just think like, I should just go in and just do it. It's something that deserves way more thought. It should be treated as a mental illness because it is a mental illness. Like, I don't know why people hate to admit that so much. Really, I think it has to do with the negative stigma associated with the phrase mental illness. It's an ugly word. I feel like the people advocating against the stigma towards the mentally ill are also the people who are insisting that gender dysphoria isn't a mental illness when in fact it is. I'm not suggesting that, there's a cure for it. There may be. I hope that there is for people who don't want to transition. I think that they should have an opportunity to get treatment, but we're not there yet. So anyway, I'm kind of going on a tangent, but yeah, I think that you should be at least 18 to make a decision like that. Question 11. If society were more accepting, transgender people would on average be just as happy with their lives as non-transgender people. I'm gonna have to disagree with this because I think that the struggle with being transgender goes much more beyond just being accepted by society. Even if I was accepted by absolutely everyone around me, I would still struggle with my body image and therefore have problems that non-transgender people wouldn't have, and therefore possibly be less happy, even though happiness is such a vague term. Question number 12. Society has gone too far in supporting and accepting transgender people. I'm gonna have to disagree with that because while there are a lot of people who are very accepting of transgender people, there is a rise of people who are really, really not, and who are still very, very ignorant on the topic. That makes me nervous as a trans person. I definitely think that we still have a ways to go before I can really feel like I belong on this earth. Maybe that's just a personal problem. I don't know. Question number 13. Private employers should be free not to hire trans people if doing so clashes with their convictions. I believe that is illegal. I don't think that you can discriminate against hiring people based on things like sexual orientation, religion, or gender identity. So I think that I will have to disagree with that. Question 14. Someone who isn't transgender will never be able to understand what it's like to live as a transgendered person. Therefore, the views of transgender people should count more when discussing transgender issues. I think the first part is true. People who aren't transgender will never understand what being transgender is like. I don't think that in all cases the views of non-transgender people should count less than the views of transgender people. I think that that's way too broad of a statement, and I think that we should 100% include non-transgender people in this discussion, or else ultimately we're just going to be doing ourselves a disservice. So I am going to strongly disagree with this one, actually. Question number 15. Transgender people have a right to be addressed by the pronouns of their choice. It is very, very rude and hurtful to purposefully misgender a trans person, but I don't think it's a right for anyone to be addressed as any pronouns. It's not really a right, it's free speech. I know I sound like a total Kekistani when I say those kind of things, but a right infers that it should be instantiated into the law, and I don't agree with that, so I'm gonna have to disagree. Question number 16. Privately owned schools should be able to refuse transgender students if they so desire. I don't think so. I think that refusing transgender students who are just trying to get an education solely on the fact that they are transgender is downright discriminatory and honestly should be illegal. Question number 17. Transgender people should be required to use the public restrooms of the gender they were born with. Yeah, strongly disagree. That's completely illogical and ridiculous. You want me in the women's restroom? You're gonna have people freaking out, saying that these trannies have gone too far, thinking that I'm a cis man, but actually I'm trans, and I'm just doing what I'm supposed to do. Also, I think it's ridiculous that trans women are the only people in this conversation. I have yet to hear a really intelligent conversation about this issue. It's just a complete farce, so strongly disagree. Question number 18. Society has not been accepting enough of transgender people. I agree, we've come a long way, but I still think that most people have no idea what to do with us. Question number 19. Children aren't old enough to know their gender identity. I'm going to disagree with that. I think that it is possible for a child to know their gender identity. It's also possible for a child to not know their gender identity. Question number 20. Transgender people are unfairly targeted and harassed by the police. I don't know much about this issue, but I mean, people have a implicit bias against people of different races, and I know that sounds very social justice-y to say, but it's true. I have it. I'm not gonna go around saying that I'm guilty of being white, but I'm gonna agree with this, I think, but particularly with trans women who don't pass. People might think that they're on drugs when they're not. That kind of thing. Question number 21. There are only two genders. I'm gonna have to agree. Question number 22. Transgender people should not be allowed to serve in the military. Disagree. I think that if you are physically and otherwise mentally capable of serving in the military, then you should be allowed in. Question number 23. Hate crimes against transgender people are a bigger problem than transgenderism itself. I will agree with that. Question 24. Giving puberty blockers to gender dysphoric children is a good idea. With this one, I think I'm going to have to put neutral because it depends on how bad the dysphoria is and how long it has been persisting. I think that giving puberty blockers to a child who is only mildly dysphoric could make them more confused. But I think if a child has been struggling with dysphoria that is debilitating and is making them absolutely miserable, then it could be a good idea just to delay puberty for a little while, and if the child grows out of it, then you can take them off and their puberty will resume. There's nothing really drastic that changes with puberty blockers. It doesn't sterilize you, it just puts puberty on hold for a little bit. Number 25, the state should make sure that a certain percentage of doctors specialize in transgender medical services, and there should be a special certification in transgender medicine. I strongly agree with this. I often feel like when I go to the doctor, they don't understand my situation, and I have to explain it to them myself very thoroughly, and they get really uncomfortable and kind of awkward. It would be really helpful for people to specialize in transgender medicine. And the last question, number 26, the higher average poverty rates of transgender people attest to the inherent unfairness of capitalism. Disagree. I'm actually a big fat capitalist. That's more of a economic political question. I don't really like that one, but yeah, I disagree. So it's actually 1% different. Last time I got 61-39, now I got 60-40. 60% trans sympathetic and 40% trans skeptic. So that's my attitude towards transgender people, I guess. That's my attitude towards myself, basically. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you all had a very Merry Christmas. Here's to 2018. I hope it's better than 2017. I will see you guys in the next video.